Under the neon glow of a Los Angeles 7-Eleven, 19-year-old Isaiah Brooks walked with his friends unaware that a single moment would change his life. A squad car screeched to a halt, its lights flashing, and Officer David Ortiz stepped out, cuffs ready, accusing him of stealing an Audi he'd never driven. Framed by a system quick to judge, Isaiah faced a courtroom where the odds were stacked against him. But this black teen had a secret weapon, a razor-sharp mind honed by years of studying law. As the gavel fell, Isaiah stood tall, ready to dismantle the lies, and what he'd reveal would shock the court to its core. Welcome to A Story That Lingers. Before we continue, let us know in the comments, where are you watching? If these stories resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special story for you. The Los Angeles night pulsed with life, neon lights from a 7-Eleven flickering against the asphalt. Isaiah Brooks, 19, walked with his friends, their laughter echoing down the street. A bag of chips crinkled in his hand, the air cool with a hint of autumn. He was just another kid heading home, his hoodie pulled up against the breeze. But as he crossed the parking lot, a squad car screeched to a halt, its red and blue lights slicing through the dark. Officer David Ortiz stepped out, his hand on his holster, eyes narrowing. "You stop right there," he barked. Isaiah froze, his heart steady but his mind racing. "What's this about, officer?" he asked, his voice calm. Ortiz smirked. "You know why. You were in that Audi, weren't you?" Isaiah's brow furrowed. "Audi? I've been walking with my friends all night." Ortiz didn't listen. "You matched the description, kid. Hands behind your back." Before Isaiah could protest, cuffs snapped around his wrists. His friends shouted, but Ortiz waved them off. "You're under arrest for grand theft auto and resisting," he said, shoving Isaiah into the squad car. As the door slammed, Isaiah's mind flashed to his mother, Lorraine, a paralegal who'd spent years teaching him about the law. She'd warned him about nights like this, when being black in the wrong place was enough to make you a suspect. "You're wrong," Isaiah said quietly. His eyes locked on Ortiz through the rearview mirror. "And I'll prove it." Ortiz chuckled, mistaking his calm for bravado. "Sure you will, kid." But Isaiah wasn't just any kid. He'd grown up studying case law, memorizing trials and dreaming of justice. This wasn't the courtroom he'd imagined standing in, but he was ready. The Los Angeles County Courthouse loomed like a fortress, its marble halls buzzing with the weight of countless cases. Inside courtroom 12, the air felt thick, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glow on polished wood. Spectators filled the gallery, their whispers a low hum as Isaiah stood at the defendant's table, his hands in his pockets, chin lifted. At 19, he looked too young for the charges: grand theft auto and resisting arrest. The judge, Henry Caldwell, 58, leaned back in his chair, his glasses perched low, his expression a mix of boredom and disdain. "Let's make this quick," he said, his voice dry. "I've got a lunch meeting." A few chuckles rippled through the room. The bailiff smirked, the stenographer's fingers paused, and the prosecutor, Charles Bennett, adjusted his tie with a smug grin. Isaiah didn't flinch. He'd spent years preparing for moments like this, not this exact one, but close enough. His mother, Lorraine, had filled their evenings with stories of courtroom battles, of prosecutors cutting corners, of judges playing favorites. By 14, Isaiah could dissect a trial better than most law students, but to Caldwell, he was just another troubled kid. Bennett rose, his suit crisp, his voice smooth. "Your Honor, the state will prove that Isaiah Brooks stole a 2022 Audi A6, fled from police, and resisted arrest. His fingerprints were on the steering wheel. The evidence speaks for itself." The gallery murmured, the weight of the charges settling in. Caldwell nodded, glancing at Isaiah. "Your defense, young man," Isaiah's public defender, Emily Chen stood her notes trembling in her hands. She was overworked, her confidence thin. Before she could speak, Isaiah touched her arm. "I'll represent myself, Your Honor." The room went silent. Caldwell raised an eyebrow, amused. "You'll," what Isaiah's voice was steady. "I'll defend myself." Bennett let out a sharp laugh. This should be fun. But Isaiah's eyes were fixed on the judge, calm and unyielding. Something shifted in the room and no one was laughing anymore. Isaiah adjusted his stance, his hands now out of his pockets, his posture straight. The gallery watched their whispers fading. He let the silence stretch just enough to make Caldwell shift in his seat. "Your Honor," Isaiah began before we proceed, "I'd like to clarify something with the prosecution." Bennett crossed his arms, smirking. "Go ahead, kid." Isaiah stepped forward. "You said Officer Ortiz saw me driving the Audi at 10:32 p.m., correct?" Bennett nodded, already bored. "That's right. It's in his report." Isaiah's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "Then I moved to verify Officer Ortiz's GPS logs from that night. If he saw me, his patrol car should have been at the scene." A murmur ran through the gallery. Bennett's smirk faltered. "That's unnecessary, Your Honor. The officer's report is clear." Isaiah turned to Caldwell. "If it's clear, then the GPS data will confirm it. Unless it doesn't." Caldwell rubbed his temple, his amusement fading. "Counselor, any objection?" Bennett hesitated just a fraction too long. The jury noticed their eyes flicking between him and Isaiah. "No objection," Bennett muttered, his jaw tight. Isaiah nodded, his mind racing. He'd spent years studying trials, watching prosecutors rely on shaky evidence, knowing they banked on defendants who didn't fight back. He wasn't one of them. In the gallery, Lorraine sat, her hands clasped tightly, her eyes fixed on her son. She'd taught him to question everything, and now he was. The courtroom buzzed as Officer David Ortiz took the stand, his uniform crisp, his posture confident. Bennett questioned him first, leading him through the report. "I saw Brooks in the Audi driving erratically," Ortiz said. "When I signaled him to pull over, he sped up, then ditched the car and ran." Isaiah listened, his face unreadable, taking mental notes. When it was his turn, he stood, his voice calm but sharp. "Officer Ortiz, you said you saw me at 10:32 p.m. Where was your patrol car parked?" Ortiz blinked, caught off guard. Near the 7-Eleven on 5th Street. Isaiah nodded. "And you saw me driving from your car?" Ortiz shifted. "Yeah, that's right." Isaiah turned to Caldwell. "Your Honor, I'd like to request traffic camera footage from 5th Street at 10:32 p.m. It should show Officer Ortiz's car and whether I was in that Audi." Bennett jumped up. "This is a delay tactic, Your Honor." But Caldwell, now curious, waved him off. "Let's see the footage." Isaiah's heart pounded, but his face stayed steady. He'd walked past that Audi, leaned against it, even opened its unlocked door out of curiosity. But he hadn't driven it. If the footage backed him up, Ortiz's story would crumble. Lorraine watched from the gallery, her breath caught, knowing her son was risking everything. The next day, the courtroom was packed, the air electric with anticipation. Reporters lined the back, their pens scribbling. Caldwell called the court to order, his gavel sharp against the wood. The traffic footage arrived, projected onto a screen. It showed the 7-Eleven lot at 10:32 p.m. The Audi parked untouched. Isaiah and his friends walked past, pausing briefly. Isaiah's hand brushed the door handle, but he didn't get in. Ortiz's patrol car was nowhere in sight. The gallery gasped. Bennett's face flushed, his notes forgotten. Isaiah stepped forward, his voice steady. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit another piece of evidence, a statement from Thomas Reed, the Audi's owner." Caldwell leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on." Isaiah held up a transcript. "Mr. Reed told police he left his car running at a gas station. He saw a white kid jump in and drive off." "Not me." The room erupted whispers turning to shouts. Bennett objected, his voice strained. This is irrelevant. The fingerprints, Isaiah cut him off. Fingerprints from me touching a car I didn't steal. That's not evidence. That's assumption. Caldwell's eyes narrowed his fingers, pausing on his gavel. The case was unraveling and everyone felt it. Isaiah pressed his advantage, his voice clear, addressing the jury directly. The prosecution says my fingerprints prove I stole the car. But let's think about it. You touch a door handle in a store. Does that make you a thief? I was at that 7-Eleven with my friends buying snacks. I leaned against the Audi, opened its door because it was unlocked. I didn't drive it. I didn't steal it. The jurors exchanged glances, some nodding. Isaiah turned to Caldwell. Your Honor, the forensic specialist who processed those fingerprints wasn't called to testify. Why no chain of custody, no cross-examination? That's not justice. Bennett scrambled, flipping through papers. The evidence is solid, Your Honor, but his voice lacked conviction. Isaiah's eyes met Lorraine's in the gallery. She gave a small nod, her pride palpable. He'd learned from her stories cases where evidence was manipulated, where bias filled the gaps. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every kid who'd been in his place. The courtroom tension peaked as Isaiah delivered his final blow. Your Honor, the prosecution ignored Mr. Reed's statement because it didn't fit their story. They arrested me because I was a black kid walking nearby, not because I was guilty. He turned to the jury, his voice steady but powerful. The real thief got away that night. The police needed a suspect, so they picked me. That's what this case is about, assumptions, not evidence. The gallery was silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Bennett tried to recover, but his argument sounded hollow. Caldwell leaned back, his earlier arrogance gone, replaced by a flicker of respect. He'd underestimated Isaiah, and now the entire room knew it. Lorraine gripped her purse, her eyes shining. Her son wasn't just surviving the system, he was dismantling it. On the third day, the courtroom was a pressure cooker, every seat filled. Caldwell took the bench, his face unreadable. I've reviewed the evidence, he said, his voice measured. The traffic footage shows no sign of the defendant driving the vehicle. The owner's statement contradicts the prosecution's narrative. The GPS logs place Officer Ortiz blocks away from the scene. He paused, looking at Isaiah. This court finds insufficient evidence to proceed. Case dismissed. The room erupted, cheers, gasps, reporters scrambling. Isaiah stood still, his shoulders relaxing for the first time in days. Bennett slumped in his seat, his tie loosened. Ortiz stared at the floor, his confidence shattered. Caldwell met Isaiah's gaze. Young man, you have a future in law. Don't waste it. Isaiah nodded, his voice low. I won't, Your Honor. Next time I'll be the lawyer. The gallery buzzed as he walked out, Lorraine at his side, her hand on his shoulder. Outside the courthouse, the sun was bright, the Los Angeles air warm and alive. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust forward. Isaiah, did you expect to win? What's next? He pulled his hoodie up, ignoring them, and turned to Lorraine. She hugged him tightly, her voice breaking. You scared me, but I'm so proud. Isaiah smiled. Had to take a risk, Ma. A flashback showed them years ago, Lorraine teaching him case law at their kitchen table, her voice firm. The system isn't always fair, but knowledge is power. Now that power had set him free. The news of the dismissal spread, sparking debates about police bias and prosecutorial overreach. Isaiah walked away from the cameras, his mind already on the future. He'd enroll in law school, fight for others like him. The system had blinked, but he wasn't done yet. A week later, Isaiah sat in a Los Angeles park, the city skyline glowing in the distance. Lorraine joined him, a coffee in her hand. You're not stopping here, are you? She asked, her tone teasing but proud. Isaiah shook his head. This was just the start, Ma. There are others out there stuck in the same trap. I'm going to help them. Across town, Caldwell sat in his office, reading a news article about Isaiah's case. He'd misjudged the kid, and the realization stung. The case had exposed cracks in the system, cracks he'd ignored too long. Isaiah's victory led to reviews of Ortiz's past arrests, freeing two others wrongfully charged. The story ended with a call to action. If Isaiah's fight moved, you share it. The system only changes when we demand it. Like, share, subscribe, and keep pushing for justice. Isaiah looked at the horizon, his resolve firm. He wasn't just a defendant anymore. He was a force, and the courtroom would see him again.